Hey, it's Ellie. Welcome back to another video, or hello if you are new. Today, got a bit of a longer episode back in Summit Sanctuary, but it's gonna be totally worth it because I actually complete an entire thing in this episode. So, and frankly, from here on out, I am going to be working a lot more efficiently, because right about here is where I started to get my building groove, I would say. And so I kind of dedicate myself more to a single project as I'm working on it, and I don't, spend forever trying to do something. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing all of these things with you, starting with this recreation center, I think is what I'm going to call it. So basically, this is a sort of a combination building, right? So I've got two exhibits, which you can see in the background. I've also got a habitat, which I didn't know what I was going to do with at this point in the build, but I do eventually make it into, I believe, the Nile Monitor Habitat. Originally, I was planning to make this section like a sort of fake habitat, so that's why I just have the glass barrier with water in it, but it's not an actual habitat. There's no gate door or anything like that, so an animal can actually go in there as it is right now. And I was just gonna make like a cool looking scenery piece. Like I was gonna do maybe some like fake coral and pretend that there's maybe fish or like frogs or some smaller animal in there that we don't. I mean, we do have frogs in some of the exhibits, but we don't have those sort of open habitats or open exhibits. I just feel like that's such a thing. Not all of them have not all of the like small animal exhibits in a zoo are just a glass box. And so I wanted to try to build something like that. But then as I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the guest navigation and how I really, really want them to utilize this building to its fullest, and I was afraid that the two exhibits were not going to be enough draw to get them to actually walk through this habitat, or through this building rather. So I decided to pivot about halfway through, and I redid the habitat barrier so that it's an actual functioning habitat now. And as I said, I put the Nile monitor in habitat, and it actually worked out so perfectly. I can't even describe. The end result is something that I love so much. And it will actually, like, the guest flow in this building, I think is going to be great because I've got a very wide pathway. There's exhibits, there's a food stall on, I didn't put it yet, but there will be. In this sort of front circular section, I put something. I actually don't remember what food stand I put there. I think it might be beef, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, and then it flows through to a butterfly exhibit as well. There's also a walkthrough butterfly exhibit just exiting this from the side, from the right side, if you're looking at it head on. So yeah, I'm really, really hopeful that this is going to turn out amazing. I did playtest already the animal navigation in this because, as you can see, I'm building this very weird, like tall structure in between the water and the actual outdoor habitat. And I'm very happy to say that the Nile monitors look so good when they crawl up the structure and then they go through my tiny little archway, and it's so visible to the guests. Like if you're just standing in the building, you can clearly see when the Nile monitors come into their swimming area, and then they walk down a little ramp into the water and they swim around, and the water is shallow enough that you can always see them very clearly when they are swimming. But it still, you know, works for the animals. It's like deep enough and all that. Because I don't believe the Nile monitors are deep divers. That would be a little strange. But yeah, so everything turned out even better than I was originally thinking. So I'm really glad I pivoted to actually have an animal in here. I feel like I added so many animals that I wasn't planning in this zoo. And that feels okay. You know, like I did plan out this zoo and I did think about what animals I wanted to have in it. And then as I'm building, I'm just finding empty spaces because I think I planned my zoo to be a little bit too large in terms of space in between habitats. So that's why I ended up with a couple others that I wasn't really exactly thinking about having. Like, pretty sure both the lion habitat and my Indian elephant habitat were completely spur of the moment decisions, but they look like they belong, so I'm kind of glad that I left enough space that when I decided to add a few extra animals, it didn't like feel like I was making it too small. Because that's not the aim of this zoo. It doesn't have any space constraints, so I want to make that feel true in this zoo. Because, you know, it's true anyway. There's not really, especially if you get a mod. By the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned, I don't have any mods in this game. I don't know how obvious that is, because some of the mods I feel like are not all that obvious, but this is a totally vanilla game. Eventually, I would like to get mods for Planet Zoo, especially some of the animal mods. Like, I really want to rebuild the Oregon Zoo, but there's a lot of animals that they have in that zoo that we don't have in the game. And it feels, I don't know, it feels like it would be a lot of habitats that I would have to pretend. And I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to switch the animals up, but I don't know how well I could reasonably do that. Like, I'm specifically thinking of the bald eagle habitat, which is really cool. They have this whole, like, feels like it's on like a ledge, almost like it's higher up than some of the other areas of the zoo, and this like fake nest thing. And the bird cage that it feels like it reminds me of like a Jurassic Park bird cage, which is in not the original Jurassic Park, but a different one. It's the third one, maybe. Or the second one. No, it's the second one. That's right. I think. Now I'm not sure. In any case, I would love to build that zoo. I think I could do it. I did start it at one point, but I got really frustrated by the pathing. Trying to get the, like, plazas to work, just because there's a lot of like big open plazas and paths like through terrain. Not like through a tunnel, but it's just like in the terrain, and that's really hard to do in this game. So I ended up giving up on that project temporarily. Plus, I am a dummy, and when I went to the Oregon Zoo, I did not bring the right SD card for my camera. And the SD card that I had in my camera was full, and I had never transferred those photos to my computer, and they were very important photos that I could not replace, or like it, you know, it wasn't just like some random event that I wouldn't really care all that much about. It was a very, in any case, I could not delete the photo, so I had no camera. I had, my good camera was like, I have an actual like a Lumix, I don't think it's professional grade, but it's like a semi-professional camera, if that makes sense. It was very expensive for a camera for somebody who is not a professional in the field of photography, and I had really wanted to take amazing photos of the Oregon Zoo so that I could recreate it very faithfully, and that did not work out for me at all. So then I was like, oh, it's okay. I will take photos with my phone. I can deal with this. Except the other thing about me is that I never charge my phone. I am like chronically living with my phone at like 17% or less. I'm just really bad about it. I don't know why. I don't know why I just don't plug it in. I don't. I'm like surrounded by chargers too when I sit at my desk. I don't plug it in. So my phone was basically dead. So yeah. And then I was with my partner at the time, and he was like, here, you can use my phone. And I basically used it until the battery was also nearly dead. So yeah, I knew that was gonna happen because I take so many photos. So I didn't really end up getting all the photos that I wanted to of the Oregon Zoo. I definitely, like, if I had had my good camera, I would have taken all the photos, you know, but it just didn't work out like that. So I was taking limited photos to begin with, and then the phone situation and the battery. By the end of the zoo, I didn't really capture any of the photos, like, towards nearing the end of the zoo, you know, when you walk around and you're back to the entrance, like, all of those habitats and exhibits and things, I didn't get any photos of those. So that was kind of a bummer. I was working off of Google Maps, and that was working fairly well, but it works better for planning space-wise and not as well for recreating the finer details, which is something that I really enjoy doing. So, you know, it only half works. And in conclusion, I don't know why I was talking about this, but I am not able to recreate the Oregon Zoo at this time. But, oh, I remember. It was about moths that I originally started talking about this. But I will definitely be going back to the Oregon Zoo at some point. And so I will bring my good camera, and presumably Planet Zoo's development is going to be wrapping up here soon-ish. It's unclear. We thought it was last year. Apparently there's gonna be one more pack, maybe. So I guess we'll see. But whenever Planet Zoo's development fully is completed, when there's no more packs, when there's like no more major updates, which won't be immediately, but it will probably be like within the year that the final pack comes out that they'll stop majorly updating it. They'll just do little patches here or there. When that happens, that is when I have decided that I will get some mods for this game. So definitely I will be getting some animal mods, because those tend to, as far as I know, tend to work fairly well, because they're just a lot of reskinning of other animals and then maybe some like coding tweaks so that they behave properly. And I definitely like to get the pre-built mod for the path system, because I would love to more accurately recreate things. And I feel like when I'm trying to recreate a zoo personally, or anything in the Planet games, the pathing system is always my biggest barrier to actually getting this thing to function and look right. Like, the plazas are always difficult because of the way you have to make the path, and the navigation is always difficult because you have to have the path in a certain way, so otherwise, you know, and the evenness of the ground, like all of those things combined make it more difficult to accurately recreate something in this game. So I think the free build mod will help with that. And honestly, that's probably why I like the path system so much in Planet Coaster 2. I know a lot of people struggled with it, but I feel like I took to it fairly easily. It didn't feel that difficult to me. Like, to me, it was fairly intuitive. I do still have to mess with it on occasion, but I don't know. It seemed like so much easier, honestly. Because I spend a lot of time fiddling with the paths in this game. I just had a whole thing with the path outside of the golf course clubhouse, which I'm working my way through building. But the path there, like, I was just having such a time with it. It was just, I just want it to look a certain way with the connecting points and all that, and it just never quite turns out exactly the way I want. Like, it's good enough, and I wouldn't, you know, I'm happy enough with the outcome. It's not something that I ever, like, feel overly frustrated with when I'm playing this game, especially now at 2,500 hours. It's very second nature, but I do still have to fuss with it so much to get it to do what I want. And it would be nice if I didn't have to do that. And I think the free build mod with the path system, the way it like can overlap, I think it'll just be much easier. Especially since I don't really play this game to actually play it. Like, it's only the guest navigation issues that can occasionally arise with the free build mod are only gonna affect me really if I am, you know, doing my tour video for too long or something. Because it's the only time I let guests really just have free reign of my zoo. All the other times, they are very much so just set dressing. Is that appropriate to say? But I don't really care, for the most part, if they are using things properly. So long as they look good in my cinematics and they aren't doing something dumb, but they're still in the vicinity. Like, I want them to be in the shot. I just don't really care otherwise. If they have a bad view of the animal or something. I don't ever make purposely a bad view. I do think about those things, but, you know, that's the reason I don't have any, like, donation boxes or anything like that. Because it's an aesthetic zoo, I don't care if they donate or not. So yeah, back to talking about the building. As you can see, it's coming along. The Nile Monitor Habitat section indoors is basically done. And you can kind of see them swimming around in the background. I, had to get them in there and see if they would swim around the way I was hoping. As I said, I just love the way they're on the ramp walking into the water and they're just so visible. And that's fantastic. Okay, and this section here is the butterfly habitat, as I was mentioning. So it's just outdoors. It kind of just follows the Nile Monitor Habitat right outside, and then so the butterfly habitat is technically, I think, in between the Nile Monitor Habitat and the path, because it's on both sides of the path, right? So I don't know how that affects the view, but I don't think it should too much. It should just be like a dual experience, potentially. Yeah, I did have this one wonky bit in the front of the building that had like a divot in the land because of, I think, the way that the exhibits and the path connected there. I'm not really sure, but I couldn't get it to look natural, so I did have to put just a bunch of mulch pieces over it. And I think, once they're covered up, it doesn't look that bad. Anyway, to be completely honest, this is a long video, and I don't particularly feel like narrating this entire thing, so I'm gonna leave you guys with some chill music. Stay tuned at the end for the cinematic of Habitat, the butterflies, the Nile monitors, the birthday party room that I built that you will see in a little bit. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye!